Good evening, everyone, and welcome to today's episode of Langer at the Mic. Today's Cowboys versus Steelers post-game show episode of Langer at the Mic. We're doing a little take two here just because we had some technical difficulties with the internet connection before, but everything should be fine in this one. But Cowboys lose an entertaining game, 24-19 to the Pittsburgh Steelers. That was honestly like a perfect outcome for the Cowboys. Just let's get right into my notes that I took. Again, I have a lot of notes because there was a lot of relevant things. The Cowboys are actually beating the 7-0 Pittsburgh Steelers for most of this one. So we'll get into my notes and then just break it all down at the end as usual. So right off the bat in the first half, the Cowboys stopped the Steelers on when they attempted a deep ball to Jordan I forget who it was, but it was Jordan Lewis in coverage who got away with a hold. And I found the refs were not calling a lot of defensive holding penalties, but I'll get more on that later. But that forced the first Pittsburgh punt. And the Cowboys actually had a pretty decent first drive where they had Garrett Gilbert. His first passing attempt was a really big completion to Amari Cooper. And again, it was a low-key, solid first drive. Pollard got a big run. The right side of the offensive line was doing a good job blocking. And it ended up in a field goal. I think it was a sack by their middle linebacker, Highsmith, that ruined that first drive, but they still got a field goal out of it. And then on the Steelers' next possession, you had really, really good plays by Leighton Vander Esch and Neville Gallimore showing up, especially Neville Gallimore on that second down run. Steelers were forced to punt. But then, honestly, I found the Cowboys were trying to get Zeke going, and it just wasn't happening early. Zeke really struggled early in this one. He had a decent second half, but early on, he was not effective at all. And more on that later, though. And the Cowboys, again, this made another big stop on third down and even a fourth down stop. Once again, it was Neville Gallimore and Randy Gregory teaming up to stop Benny Snell on an outside run attempt, which was really good to see. This was Gallimore's by far his best game today. And then you saw Garrett Gilbert making his first start against a 7-0 team with the Dallas Cowboys and against the 7-0 Pittsburgh Steelers, against one of the best defenses in the NFL. And here he is looking like Lamar Jackson, scampering up down up the middle of the field. And then on the very next play, he scrambles right, finds CeeDee Lamb for the Cowboys touchdown, and they go up 10-0 against the Steelers, against the 7-0 Steelers. So that was a lot of fun early on. And then the Cowboys defense got another stop, and that's when we saw the return, the John Fossil call to send Cedric Wilson on to pass it laterally or do a lateral back to CJ Goodwin. And that was just 3 points that the Cowboys stole right there. John Fossil, the last time I could really, I think I remember instant or clearly him doing this type of play on punt coverage or punt return is I remember back in it was a game against Seattle, either 2014 or 2015, where he had Tavon Austin on one side deep to return and another returner on the other side deep, and I forget who it was. But or maybe not even someone else that was sent deep. It was just kind of like CJ Goodwin did, just kind of like snuck into back to return it. But anyway, what happened is that the entire punt team went towards Tavon Austin, who went on the opposite side of the field compared to where the punt was sent. And then they sent one guy to actually return the punt where it went. And the entire Seahawks punt coverage team went towards Tavon Austin, and which left the entire open side of the field on the opposite side. And that was, again, back with the St. Louis Rams that John Fossil called that type of special teams play. So it was a lot of fun to see that, again, stole 3 points for the Cowboys. And this was the first time the Cowboys led this year at the 2-minute warning of the first half, if I heard that correctly on the CBS broadcast. So yeah. What else? And then Anthony Brown actually made a nice pass breakup on Claypool. Again, a bit of a hold that he got away with, but that was on second down. And then that's where the Cowboys had a chance to, or no, here's where I got a little bit mixed up in my notes, because there was the Gallimore big hit on Big Ben, who just he forklifted Maurkice Pouncey, the center, and he just forklifted the center and then just crushed Big Ben into DeMarcus Lawrence. And that was a great play by Neville Gallimore, and Big Ben got hurt on that play, but Thankfully, Big Ben was relatively okay. Again, he's played through a lot of injuries in the past, but and then on the next play or two of the drive, he just James Washington burned Anthony Brown on a slant and go, and the Steelers drew back came back within 13-6 at that point. And then the Cowboys had the ball back, and again, the Cowboys had a chance to get points and get back-to-back possessions down or up 13-6. And by the way, also the missed extra point by Chris Boswell on that touchdown to James Washington by the Steelers. But again, the Cowboys had the ball and had an opportunity to get back-to-back possessions and potentially go up 16-6 or 19-6 or whatever because they also got the ball back at the beginning of the second half. But then there was a Terrence Steele penalty, which drew them back 5 yards because he was not lined up properly, and the Cowboys turned the ball over on the very next play where CeeDee Lamb caught it, and the ball got punched out by the Steelers safety Cam Sutton, which was, again, honestly, I'd say more credit to Sutton than faulting CeeDee Lamb because but I'm just impressed that it took that long for the Cowboys to turn the ball over and that it didn't come from Garrett Gilbert or Ezekiel Elliott or anything like that. So again, I think it was more of a great play by Sutton. Can't really fault CeeDee Lamb as much on that. But then there was the weird sequence. There was the weird sequence at the end of the first half there where the Steelers missed the field goal attempt, and but they false started. They took a false start penalty before the snap, and because it was before the snap, that means that the Cowboys could not decline the penalty, which means that even though the Steelers had to back up 5 yards and Boswell, it was going to be a 59-yard attempt instead of like a 54-yard attempt, he still got another chance and he nailed it, which made it 13-9 at that point. Again, if I was more invested in winning and the Cowboys winning, then I would have been really upset about that or just would have sucked. But again, I'm on Team Tank, so whatever. But then the Cowboys started the second half with a really, really good opening drive. They're efficient passing on first down. They're converting with runs on second and third down and short. And then there was the weird play call. I found it was a really weird play call to set up a tight end screen to Blake Bell, which put the Cowboys behind the chains, and they never recovered, and they had to settle for a field goal, went up 16-9 at that point. But then the defense had another stop where Randy Gregory just forced a really early throw by Big Ben, or almost an interception by Big Ben, because Xavier Woods, I think, had a chance to intercept him there. But essentially, it was Randy Gregory just scooted around offensive tackle Alejandro Villanueva of the Steelers. That's what we want to see from Randy Gregory, and it was really nice to see him play well this week and the week before. But yeah, that was another stop, and the Cowboys got the ball back. And at this point, Tony Pollard was just really, running with a lot more juice than Ezekiel Elliott, and he was getting the ball more. Again, I don't know if that's because Zeke is hurt or just because he's just not having a good year, and just because Zeke is just not effective right now. He did have some really good runs in the second half, though. I'll give him that. But early on, Tony Pollard outran Ezekiel Elliott. But more on that in a bit. What's it called? The Cowboys are still moving the ball well, and even I think there was the 3rd and 10 run by Ezekiel Elliott that got them just inches short from the first down marker. And at that point, you're thinking Mike McCarthy, given what we saw in week 1 against the Rams, you'd expect Mike McCarthy to go for it there on 4th and inches. Again, not 4th and 1 or 4th and 2, but 4th and inches. But again, I'm on Team Tank, so I'm not going to get mad at that. But yeah, they settled for a field goal, went up 19-9 at that point. But then Pittsburgh finally started doing what they're supposed to do on offense. Juju Smith-Schuster ran a slot post for a touchdown. Big Ben hit him, but then there was the missed extra point by Chris Boswell, another one which was blocked by Tyrone Crawford, and that set up the big Rico Dowdle return. It was on that play because Randy Gregory took a unsportsmanlike penalty for knocking the ball out of Juju Smith-Schuster's hands, which honestly I'm okay with, because if you're going to show up, if you're going to stand on the star or just put your arms up in the air like Terrell Owens or something like that, then I'm okay with responding to that. Unlike and it's good to see the Cowboys respond to things like that. Unlike a couple of weeks ago where Andy Dalton got his head almost taken off and no one responded to that. So I'm cool with Randy Gregory taking that type of penalty. And it should have set the Cowboys up with really bad field position, but ended up giving them really good field position because Rico Dowdle, undrafted free agent running back, Rico Dowdle ran it all the way up the sidelines, I think down to like the 40 or the 50 or something. And then Zeke had another big run, and the Cowboys were running the ball well. They're moving the ball. They were chewing up a lot of clock. They had a chance to go up by another 2 possessions in the fourth quarter, but then the interception by Garrett Gilbert, who had like 4 Steelers in his face, and he threw the pick to Minkah Fitzpatrick, which was a result, again, of a non-called holding penalty where it was Joe Hayden essentially held Amari Cooper, which made Garrett Gilbert under pressure threw it to where Cooper was going, but because Cooper was held, he couldn't get there, and Minkah Fitzpatrick was there, and he basically just picked it off pretty easily. But again, I'm not going to complain about that because there were non-calls on Anthony Brown and Jordan Lewis before that, so whatever. Again, the Cowboys team tank. Right, I'm on Team Tank, as I've repeated many times before. So, and then there was the Aldon Smith sack fumble, which was negated by Jalen Smith by a holding penalty on Jalen Smith. Maybe Jalen Smith is also on Team Tank. Maybe he is too. But that negated a really good play by Aldon Smith, forcing a strip sack fumble. But then there was the Leighton Vander Esch penalty, which I'm honestly okay with because, again, McFarland just put his hand all over in Leighton Vander Esch's face mask. So naturally, Leighton Vander Esch, what else are you going to do? Yeah, you're going to retaliate to that. So anyway, I'm okay with that penalty. And again, if the game mattered more, I would have been more upset about them not calling McFarland, but whatever. And then there was Leighton Vander Esch, DeMarcus Lawrence on that drive ended it by tipping a Ben Roethlisberger pass, and the Cowboys had another chance to put the game away. They're up, I think it was 19-18 at this point. They forced the field goal. Yeah, so it was 19-18. And Zeke, again, had another really nice first down run. That was, I think, his third or second or whatever. But yeah, Cowboys were moving the ball, but then Garrett Gilbert overthrew Amari Cooper on a third down by midfield. And it was only the second punt by the Cowboys at that point. We're late in the fourth quarter, and they only punted the ball twice. So that was really good to see. But then there was the Jalen Smith roughing the passer penalty. The Cowboys stopped the Steelers on third down, and Jalen Smith obviously had to get his hand in Ben Roethlisberger's face, which was called roughing the passer, and that gave the Steelers a new set of downs. So that's when they got Deontay Johnson on a deep ball, where he made Savion Smith look stupid, and they finished that with Eric Ebron hurtling in for a touchdown. So all in all, again, the Cowboys, they took a 7-0 undefeated Steelers team with the best defense with one of the best defenses in the NFL, and they just made them poop their pants for 3 quarters. Honestly, what more can you ask from the Cowboys? With Garrett Gilbert making his first start after only being with the team for 3 or 4 weeks, what more can you ask from the Cowboys? They entertained us for 3 hours. They gave us hope. They gave us faith that we might actually win this game. But all in all, again, Cowboys fans should just be happy that they just keep rising up the draft boards with another loss. But anyway, let's talk a little bit more about, again, performances. In the pregame show from Friday, I challenged this defense to play better, especially against the run. And I said I didn't care I wasn't going to care if Big Ben threw for 300, 400, 500 yards. But as long as the Cowboys could play well against the run, and they did. They gave up 306 yards to Big Ben, 3 touchdowns. But they limited James Conner to 22 yards on 9 carries, and the Steelers finished with only 46 yards rushing. The Cowboys also held the Steelers to 5 for 13 on third downs and 0 for 2 on fourth downs. So yeah, just honestly, huge credit to the defense. The only, I guess, negative points from the defense was that they didn't get any sacks, and of course the late penalties, which overturned some big plays that they made. And now in terms of good players, I honestly Garrett Gilbert deserves a lot of love because given the situation he was put in, at least Ben DiNucci last week put in a very similar situation, of course, but Ben DiNucci last week played average, okay for the situation he was put in. Obviously played bad objectively, but for the situation he was put in, played okay. Garrett Gilbert played really good for the situation he was put in. And he deserves a lot of love for that. And again, just helping the offense move the ball and just get opportunities to make this a game. I really like the way Garrett Gilbert played. And the Cowboys, by the way, finished with a total of 220 passing yards, 144 rushing yards, total of 364 yards of total offense in this game. So and again, Garrett Gilbert is a big part of that. But also the wide receivers were good. CeeDee Lamb had a strong game. He had He had 4 receptions, 71 yards, and a touchdown. He did have that big fumble, but again, that's more credit to the great play made by the Steelers DB there. What else? It was Amari Cooper had a couple of really big plays, 5 receptions, 67 yards, and he also carried one for 8 yards. And also, here's a really underrated performance. And you got to give a lot of credit to the offensive line. And because they only gave up 2 sacks to TJ Watt and the Steelers' really good front, and Bud Dupree, of course, and Cam Hayward. Yeah, just you got to give a lot of love to this Cowboys offensive line. Obviously, look, they had the one bad penalty where Terrence Steele just didn't line up properly, which led to the turnover on the next play. But yeah, really good performance by this Cowboys offensive line. And just pulling my notes back here. And then in terms of the running backs, Pollard was really solid in this one. He had 9 rushes, 57 yards, and Zeke deserves credit for turning it up in the second half, again with 3 really good runs, but his longest carry was 10 yards. And he finished overall 51 yards on 18 carries. So essentially, Tony Pollard outrushed Zeke with half as many carries. So I don't know, again, if that's an issue of Zeke's health, or just not being just being banged up, or just because he's just not as effective, but he's not living up to his $90 million price tag. And I guess that's one negative. And other positives on the defensive side of the ball now, Leighton Vander Esch, like I said, had a couple of really good plays, blew up a big screen on early on. And then Neville Gallimore had by far his best game as a Cowboy, multiple pressures on Ben Roethlisberger and delivered the hit that knocked Big Ben out of the game. Again, not hoping for injury, but just the fact that he, forklifted Maurkice Pouncey and just drove, just delivered a really big hit on Big Ben. It was nice to see from Neville Gallimore. Randy Gregory, again, really nice to see him, pressuring Big Ben and making a lot of plays as well and generating pressure. But then the only bad things are Jalen Smith, of course. Maybe Jalen Smith is on Team Tank as well, just with those 2 really just bad penalties later on that just completely cost the Cowboys, and Savion Smith, who got burned late in the game. But how can you blame him? But you know what? Who didn't get burned as much? Trayvon Diggs didn't get burned as much. He almost had an interception, on like the first possession, but Donovan Wilson broke it up. But yeah, it was nice to see. It was nice to know that Trayvon Diggs didn't get burned as much. He did get hurt, but he didn't get burned like we've seen throughout the season. But all in all, this was an absolutely perfect game for the Cowboys. This was just they played much better on defense. Like I said, they moved the ball on offense. They found the end zone at least once, finally, since the Arizona game. And you also might have found a bit of a player in Gilbert who can develop as a backup quarterback. They came within a roughing the passer penalty of being a 7-0 team. And like I said, they entertained us for 3 hours, all while moving up the draft board. And like I said, with the Giants winning and the Texans winning, I mean, the Jaguars lost, sure. And then who else? It was the Vikings won, the Falcons won, although the Chargers didn't win, but I think the Chargers are they got to win one of these games. You'd think the LA Chargers they're due for a win, at least in one of these games. But yeah, the only other bonus is if the Jets can somehow lose on Monday or win on Monday Night Football, and then the Cowboys right now, I think they're in the top 3. So Team Tank is alive and well, and again, if every single Cowboys game is exactly like this one going forward in the rest of 2020, I'll be ecstatic. So this has been a Langer at the Mic live take 2 post-game show here for the Cowboys versus Steelers game. And of course, please donate to my Movember. As you can see, I'm supporting the stash. I'm also on Instagram and Twitter posting daily mental health tips of the day. And again, all funds go towards prostate cancer research, suicide prevention programs, and increasing awareness of men's mental health. So I would appreciate all contributions to my cause. But this has been a Langer at the Mic live post-game show for the Dallas Cowboys versus Pittsburgh Steelers. Thank you so much for watching, and see you again next time.